Hi friends. So today we're going to be changing fractions and decimals into percents. So we're just going to be building on kind of what we did yesterday. So in order to do that, we need to really be working with decimals. If you are working with a fraction, you need to change it to a decimal first, and then we'll be able to change it into a percent very easily. So you see that we have two steps here. So if you're working with a fraction, you need to change the fraction into a decimal, and then once you have it into a decimal, you're going to move the decimal place. You're going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So I want to show you what that's going to look like first. So I have a fraction here. It's 11/20ths. So I'm going to go ahead and change 11/20ths into a decimal, and the way that I do that is by boxing up my top number. 20 is going to go outside of it, and then I'm going to do some division. To help me with my division, I have, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? Remember, we're going to divide, multiply, subtract, check, and then bring down. Okay, so I have a problem here for you guys to look at. So I have 11 inside the box, 20 outside of the box. I'm ready to start dividing. 20 can't go into 1. 20 can't go into 11. Remember that when we're dividing with decimals that we bring the decimals straight up, so I brought it straight up. So now I have 110, and I am asking myself, how many times can 20 go into 110? Well, it can go in 5 times. 5 times 20 equals 100. And so I'm going to do some, so I've just multiplied, now I'm ready to subtract. 110 minus 100 is going to give us 10. I'm going to check it, and 10 is smaller than 20. So then I'm going to bring down my 0 and change that 10 into a 100. And so then I'm going to go back to dividing. How many times can 20 go into 100? Well, it can go in 5 times. 5 times 20 equals 100, and then I subtract it and it has no remainder. Okay, so now I have the decimal 0.55, and so I'm going to take that. I'm going to take my 0.55, and just like my notes say, when I have a decimal, I'm going to move it 2 places to the right. So I have 0.55, and I'm going to move the decimal 2 places, so that the decimal will be after my second 5. So 0.55 turns into 55%. Okay, so I have a second example here. I have a second example that we can look at. It's 9/16. We're going to do the exact same thing. Let me move around my sticky note a little, sorry. Okay, we're going to do the exact same thing with 9/16. 9 is going to go inside the box. 16 goes outside the box, so I'm ready to start dividing. 16 can go into 9 0 times. I'm going to bring my decimal straight up, and then I'm going to ask, how many times can 16 go into 90? Well, it can go in 5 times. 5 times 16 is 80. I'm going to subtract, and I get 10 for my answer. I did check it. 10 is smaller than 16, so I'm going to bring down another 0. So then my 10 becomes a 100. From my 100, I'm going to ask, how many times can 16 go into 100? It can go in 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. So now I have 100 minus 96. When I do the math, it's 4. 4 is smaller than 16, so I'm going to bring down another number. So then my 4 becomes 40. So then I'm going to ask myself, how many times can 16 go into 40? Well, 2 times. 2 times 16 is 32. I'm going to do some subtraction. 40 minus 32 is 8. 8 is smaller than 16, so I'm going to bring down another 0. How many times can 16 go into 80? I've already solved that one time. It's a 5. 5 times 16 is 80 with 0 left over. Okay, so now I have a big number. Now I have a big number that I'm working with right here. So I have 0.5625. So just like the steps say, I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the right. So when I do that, I'm going to start in front of the 5. I'm going to move it 2 places to the right. 1, 2. It's going to fall in right after the 6. So so my fraction of 9/16 is going to turn into 56.25%. All right. So when you're working with fractions, you want to make sure that you change the fraction into a decimal, and then you move the decimal 2 places to the right. So that's nice and easy. I have a couple more examples with decimals. So I have 0.073, and so I'm going to move it 2 places to the right, and 0.073 becomes 7.3%. All right. I have one more here for you. 3.71. If I move my decimal 2 places to the right, then I have 371%. Similar to how it was yesterday with moving the decimal 2 places. All right. There is one trick with the fractions. I know that not everybody loves the idea of changing the fraction into a decimal and doing a little bit of extra math that way. There is one trick that I do want to show you. The trick is you want to look at the fraction, so 11/20ths. If the denominator, my bottom number, is a factor, if it is a factor of 100, you want to ask yourself, what times the denominator will get me to 100. And so here I have 20. That's a little bit small. Here I have 20. So I would say, what times 20 equals 100? Well, I know that 20 times 5 is going to equal 100. And like the mother named Math has taught us, what we do to the top, we do to the bottom. So if I multiply the bottom by 5, I'm going to multiply the top by 5. So then I'm going to do 11 times 5 will equal 55. And if it's 55, then I have the ratio 55 over 100. And we know that the ratio 55 over 100 is going to give us 55%. So your tip is look at the denominator and ask yourself, is it a factor of 100? If it is a factor of 100, see how you get from the denominator to 100. So it's a really good tip. It'll work for some problems. Like if we look at our examples, it'll work for some problems if it is a factor of 100, like 2, 50, 20, 25, those types of things. But it doesn't work for all of them. Like for example, 9/16, there is nothing times 16, well, evenly anyways, there's nothing times 16 that will give us 100 evenly. So in this case, we do have to box up the top number and divide by the bottom number. So I hope that that helps. Just one more time today when you guys are working on your assignment, make sure that you are working with decimals. Decimals, it's the easiest way to work. Change your fraction into a decimal. With your decimal, you're going to move 2 places to the right. Good luck. You guys are going to do awesome.